Just a reminder to vote in this week's Locals poll, where you decide what deck I take to Locals every single week. Without any further ado, I hope you enjoyed the video. What's up YouTube, welcome back to the channel, and for today we have the deck profile for the deck we took to Locals this week, being Phantom Knights. We didn't have an official tournament because there was some lower attendance for some unknown reason. I don't really know why, but we just played some casual games. But yeah, we're still going to do the deck profile regardless, so here's a look at what the deck looks like on paper, and then we'll get to the card by card. Okay, so this is a 100% pure Phantom Knights build, so it's not like the PK Fire where there's like Burning Abyss or anything. This is just 100% straight pure PK. So with that in mind, we're going to go and start with the monsters. And so first we're going to do our level 4s, running 2 copies of Cloven Helm and then 3 Fragile Armor. So these guys, their main purpose is one of 2 things. I either banish them from Allure, or I can send them to the graveyard off of Bardiche in order to gain some sort of extra advantage. We normally don't summon these. These are mainly just for milling and or banishing off of Allure of Darkness. Although if you really have to, you can use them for like Dark Rebellion, but that doesn't come up very much. Alright, so next we have 3 copies of Stained Greaves. So Stained Greaves is... what's a good analogy for it? Basically, if we special summon another Phantom Knight monster, we can special summon it from our hand. So this is really good for going into Rusty Bardiche, since it's a Link 3. And then we can banish it from the grave to summon a Phantom Knight from our hand, so it's a 2-way extender. Next, running 3 Ragged Gloves, because we can dump this with something else, and then banish it from our grave to send any Phantom Knights card from our deck to the graveyard, so we can even send traps to special summon ones back from the graveyard. Really versatile, so I'm playing 3, that way we have access to it all throughout the game. Next, we have Ancient Cloak. So this is a monster searcher when we banish it from the graveyard. So usually we're going to be using this to search for Silent Boots, because that's our primary extender, so that's what we're really going to be searching off of this. Next is the best monster in the deck, being 3 copies of Phantom Knights of Torn Scales. So basically we discard a card and send a monster from our deck to the graveyard. You usually want to discard either Cloak or Gloves and then dump the other one, is normally what you want to do. So there's kind of some flexibility there. And then when a monster, when a card gets banished from our graveyard, we can special summon him from the graveyard, just with the condition that he's banished when he leaves the field, but we're normally going for a Break Sword at that point, so that doesn't really matter. So yeah, Torn Scales is easily the best monster in the deck. And rounding out the monsters, we have triple Silent Boots. So this is literally just like an extender. It's kind of like backup secretary for Cybers. So yeah, enough said. And then we can banish this one to add a Phantom Knight spell or trap, so we can use it to get something like Fog Blade or the rank up magic spell, something like that. So yeah, that's going to be it for the monsters. Now moving on to the spells. Not very many of them, but the ones we play are very important. So first of all, triple Allure of Darkness, because, you know, they're all dark monsters, so being able to draw cards is always very nice. And at the worst, it's Ashbait, so that's always nice. We also have 1 copy of Rhoda, and then 2 copies of the rank up magic. So Rhoda, because all Phantom Knights are warriors. Enough said. The rank up magic spell, this is searchable off of Boots. This way we can just have some more flexibility, playing around negations when we try to rank up into Arc Rebellion for the OTK. And for the last spell, we're running 1 Phantom Knight Spear. So this one is kind of a... I guess kind of like an extra thing if you wanted to, because like things like Imperm, Veiler, things that target, you can just get some burn damage in there. And then if we don't want it on the field, we can actually dump it with Ragged Gloves in order to protect our dark monsters. So it has some utility there in the graveyard as well. And next, moving on to the traps. So first, we are going to be covering the one of traps. So we have Dark Gauntlets, Mist Claws, Wrong Magnet Ring, and Shade Brigandine. So again, these are the one-ofs. Dark Gauntlets is basically Foolish Burial Goods, and then it can revive itself as a monster if we're about to take a direct attack. Mist Claws, since Phantom Knights banish themselves from the graveyard, this one gets one of our choosing back to our hand. So that's really nice. And then we can also protect against direct attacks while this is in the graveyard as well. These two are mainly for their principal effects, the Foolish Burial and the Recovery. That's usually what you use them for. The direct attack thing never came up with either one of those. Wrong Magnet Ring, it just negates an attack, and then special summons itself as a level 2 monster, which we can use to go into Cursed Javelin, or we can send it and another face-up Phantom Knights card from our deck to the grave to draw 2 cards. So that's really nice. Just extra draw power as well as protection for something. Then finally, we have the one Shade Brigandine. So I'm only running one of this because I'm trying to maximize on things like boots and Stain Greaves. So normally this one doesn't come up as much, but also because it's only if we... you can only activate the same turn that it's set if you have no traps in the grave, and considering that one of our main lines is trying to dump gloves as soon as possible, there's a good chance that this card can be kind of dead. So it's good if you draw it in your opening hand, but not so much later games. So that's why I only run one of it, so that way I don't draw a bunch of dead copies of Shade Brigandine. Next, we're playing 2 copies of Phantom Knight's Wing and 2 copies of Lost Vembrace. So Wing gives a face-up monster an extra 500 attack points and protects it from destruction once. And then most of the Phantom Knights traps from here on out have the effect where we can banish it as a quick effect, special summon a Phantom Knights monster from our graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. This is one of those, so it has that dual purpose there. Lost Vembrace, this one, so I'm running 2 of it, so that way we can have a way to go into Cursed Javelin if we so choose. So that way, it also serves to protect our Phantom Knights monsters from being destroyed by battle, as well as being an extra body. So that way we can use it for either Rusty Bardiche or Cursed Javelin. So kind of that dual purpose there. And then next is, of course, the main trap. 3 copies of Phantom Knight's Fogblade. So obviously, this is the main one you're going to go for off of Rusty. You can also search this off of Boots. And yeah, this is arguably the best trap in the entire deck. I would say by a pretty solid margin, too. Makes it to where the targeted monster's effects are negated. It cannot attack, but you also cannot attack it. But you can also do things with Break Sword and stuff like that to where that's not an issue. So yeah, really good card there. When I was forced to go first, my goal was to try to set up double Fogblade. That's kind of the whole point. And then rounding out the main deck is 2 copies of Phantom Knight's Sword. So it gives the targeted monster 800 attack, and then you can destroy Sword instead of that monster. So, and then it also, then both this and Fogblade both have the special summon clause that I mentioned earlier when we talked about wings. So yeah, just more of the dual purpose. So that way we can send one card off of Ragged Gloves, and then be able to extend or recover, anything like that. So yeah, that's going to be it for the main deck. Now for the extra deck. So like I said, this is 100% pure Phantom Knights. So this is like Uto the deck. So we're starting out with, of course, 3 copies of Rusty Bardiche. Usually you're only going to summon 1, but we have two just in case, or two extras just in case. But so yeah, this cannot be used as link material, which might come up if you're trying to go for a second one, like if this one gets permanently negated by something. But basically, you can send a Phantom Knights monster from your deck to the grave to set a spell or trap, cough cough, Fog Blade, straight from your deck to your field. And then if a Dark Xyz monster is special summoned next to its link, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. Now, just one thing to mention with Bardiche, it says, yeah, if a Dark Xyz monster is special summoned, not Xyz summoned, special summoned. So you can even use one of the traps to reborn something like a Break Sword to get a pop on your opponent's turn. So that's really nice. Next is one copy of Cursed Javelin. So this one is more situational, but it's actually one of my favorite ones, just because it is a little more unique, because it focuses more on negation rather than just trying to beat over stuff. So I do like Cursed Javelin. I summoned it in both games against the Danger Dark World because I had access to Loss of Embrace, so it was nice for him to get some shine. Next, the main Xyz you're wanting to make, or rather, the first one, is 3 copies of Phantom Knights Break Sword. So, with this one, you detach a material, target a card on your side of the field, target a card on your opponent's side of the field, destroy them both. And the best part about Break Sword is that it's not once per turn. So, if one gets stopped, and you're able to summon another one, you can use the second one. So, yeah, it not being once per turn is really nice. And then when it gets destroyed, you know, usually you're going to pop itself with its own effect. You can target 2 Phantom Knights monsters in your graveyard, special summon them back, but increase their levels by 1. So you turn 2 level 3 monsters and 2 level 4 monsters. And the main one you're going to go into right after that is Raider's Knight. So, again, this is always treated as a Phantom Knights card as per its effect. So basically, you detach a material and you rank up. You can also rank down, but in this deck, you're only going to be ranking up into a card we're going to talk about later. So yeah, the Break Sword into Raider's Knight into Arc Rebellion, which we'll cover shortly. That's kind of the main line of play, so you can try to OTK. But I do run multiple Raider's Knight just because there are things I can rip from your extra deck and things of that nature. And then also, you know, that way if it gets negated, we still have another one that we can use later in the game. So I did want to maximize on that, just so that way we wouldn't be dead in the water. Next, we are running 2 Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragons. So if we don't want to make Raider's Knight, then you can make this. I actually made this against Danger Dark World. So that's really nice. I think everyone pretty much knows what Dark Rebellion does at this point, but if not, the text is quite large compared to other Yu-Gi-Oh cards, so you can read it there. So, yeah. Next is Dark Requiem. So this is the upgraded form of Dark Rebellion. Unfortunately, I was not able to summon this one, but the option is there if we need it. So basically, it's an upgrade of Dark Rebellion, where instead of cutting that monster's attack in half, it drops it to 0 and then gains that much attack. And then it also has a quick effect monster negation. That is not once per turn, by the way. So the negation is not once per turn. So that's really nice. So you can literally just see summon Dark Rebellion with 2 materials, use the rank up magic, then boom, you got a 3 monster negate Dark Requiem. So that's kind of the purpose of it here, but it also is a little more situational, so I only run 1. But sadly, we did not get to summon him. But that's okay, because we have Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon, which saw plenty of play. So this is, of course, the primary win condition of the deck. You go into this with Raider's Knight, because one condition of Raider's Knight I actually forgot to mention earlier is that the monster that it summons is destroyed during the opponent's next end phase. But with Arc Rebellion, this Xyz summon card can't be destroyed by card effects. So it's a way to mitigate that cost to where it's not really a cost at all. And basically with this is just an OTK machine. So you detach material, and it gains attack equal to the total original attack of all other monsters on the field. So that includes your monsters. And then if it still has a Xyz monster as material, which would be your Raider's Knight, all other monsters on the field have their effects negated. And that is a permanent negation, and the attack point gain is also permanent. The only drawback is that it one negates your monster's effects also, so if you have a Rusty Bardiche on the field, its effects are permanently negated. But then also, he's the only one that can attack, but it's still an OTK machine, or even if you can't OTK, you will have a huge advantage in life points, and since it can't be destroyed by card effects, it's going to be really hard for your opponent to out it. I think I got this thing... I know for a fact in one of the games I got it up to 11,000. I think I might have got it up to 13,000 in one of the games, but I'm not 100% sure, but 11,000 for sure. But yeah, so that's it for the actual deck profile portion. We'll do some shuffling, and then we'll get to a test hand. Alright, let's see what we get. Okay, gloves, not bad. Okay, gauntlets is decent. Cloven helm, okay. Greaves, okay, not terrible. Okay, so we have torn scales here. So I think what we'll do is I'm actually just going to emulate going first, because the difference between what you do going first and going second is very minimal. So I'm just going to emulate going first as like the worst case scenario, and then I'll tell you what I would do differently for going second. So what we would do, of course, is we go ahead and normal summon our Torn Scales. We'll activate Torn Scales effects. We're going to send the Ragged Gloves from our hand to the graveyard. And then we will be also sending a copy of Cloak to the graveyard as well. So we're going to do that. Alright, so then what we're going to do is we're going to activate the effect of Cloak in the graveyard. We're going to banish it in order to search for a copy of Boots, because Boots is best boy. So there we go. So now we got our copy of Boots. Since we control a Phantom Knight monster as a built-in summon, or as some people call an inherent summon, we can special summon Boots, which will trigger the effect of Stained Greaves in our hand. Since we special summon a Phantom Knight, we can special summon it from our hand. Bada bing, bada boom. Alright, so then we're going to link for 3. So then we're going to link summon our Rusty Bardiche. Then we're going to go ahead and activate Bardiche. We're going to send a Phantom Knights monster from our deck to the graveyard. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to, just based off of what's already in our graveyard, since we already have 3 monsters, we're actually going to send a copy of Fragile Armor to the graveyard. That way we don't draw it. In order to set a Fog Blade straight from our deck to the field. So we're going to be fishing for Fog Blade now. And that gets set face down onto our field. And it cannot be activated this turn, of course, because it is a trap. But I just wanted to clarify that just in case. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and activate the effect of Fragile Armor in our graveyard, actually. So we're going to banish it. And we're going to discard Cloven Helm to draw 1 card. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, that's very nice. And then, since we banished a Phantom Knights card, that will trigger the effect of Torn Scales in our graveyard. Alright, so that's going to allow us to special summon it back to the field. Okay, now, what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go ahead and activate the effect of gloves. So we're going to banish it to send a Phantom Knights card from our deck to the graveyard. So we're going to send one of our trap cards, and usually the one I send first is a copy of Wing, because Sword is slightly better because it gives 300 more attack points, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of one copy of Wings here. Then we're going to activate Wings. We'll banish it to special summon back our Stained Greaves. Then we're going to overlay these two for a copy of Break Sword. Okay? Now, again, this is going first. Okay, so this is where everything we would do would be the exact same up until this point. So here's where things get different. All right, if we were going first, what we would do is we would activate Boots in the graveyard. We'd banish it to add a copy, or rather add a Phantom Knight spell or trap from our deck to our hand. And we're actually going to go for a second copy of Fogblade. Because, you know, one negation's good, so why not two? All right, so now we've got double Fogblade. And this is basically what I did against Lunalights. I think I might have had this against Dark Magician as well in one of the games, but I know for sure with Lunalights. Now, we will go ahead and set the Dark Gauntlets, and we're also going to set the Rank Up Magic Force, because what we can do is we can, in our opponent's turn, we can banish the Cloven Helm with the Rank Up Magic to turn this into a Dark Rebellion, which would trigger the pop effect of Bardiche on our opponent's turn. So that's kind of what we would do if we were going first. However, if we were going second and there's something on our opponent's field, we would activate Break Sword, detach one, pop itself, and then whatever's on our opponent's field that we want to get rid of. Activate Break Sword, targeting the Torn Scale and the Stained Greaves. Special summon them back as level 4s. Overlay into our good old friend Raider's Knight. Activate Raider's Knight. We will detach the Torn Scale, and we will immediately rank up into the Arc Rebellion. And then from here we can, you know, detach the Stained Greaves. Arc Rebellion gains the total attack of all other face-up original attack of all of the face-up monsters on the field, including the Bardiche, so its effects are negated as well because it has a Xyz monster as material. Then we try to swing, hopefully for game, but if not, it'd be a very significant amount of damage. So, yeah, very slight differences between going first and second. It's just whether you OTK or you try to do a pop on your opponent's turn with the Rank Up Magic. But either way, I mean, you can easily get double Fogblade. And then we also had the, if I can flip it over here, we also had the Dark Gauntlets, so we could dump something like a sword for an extra revive just to kind of set up. If I can find the sword, where is it? That's kind of embarrassing. Okay, there it is. But yeah, so we did pretty good with the deck. We beat Lunalight 2-0. We beat Dark Magician 2-1. The only reason we lost one of the games against Dark Magician is because he main decked Skill Drain. And we were not able to get to Break Sword before he flipped Skill Drain. So, yeah. So, we did lose game 1, but we won games 2 and 3. So, that's really all that matters. Then the Danger Dark World, I beat it 2-0. Partially because it was actually someone that was new to the game. And don't worry, I did go easy on them. Okay, I still won 2-0, but I went easy on them. Okay, I held back a lot. Okay, I could have OTK'd both games, but I made each game last like 10 turns. So, yeah, I was not a jerk. I went easy on the guy. And hopefully they come back next week, because I would definitely like to play them again. But yeah, so that's going to be it for the deck profile. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I know my deck profile videos get a lot more views than anything else on the channel, and that's fine. But if you would just take 10 seconds out of your day to go vote in the locals poll, that's the deck that I do the next deck profile on. So if you're interested in seeing any of those decks, drop a vote for it. So without any further ado, that's the end of the video, and I'll see you guys next time.